Hi, I'm Roshan and you're on Life Hacks. And today we'll be exploring, do you react or respond? Quick story. A number of years ago, I was working in the United States and having dinner in a small city after work with a colleague. A cockroach, right, whizzed past a woman sitting next to us and went under the table. This woman, she saw this cockroach, and the cockroach started to go up her legs. She started screaming and kicking and just, trying to beat up the little bug. And she got so worked up that she started getting up and running. And at this point, some of the customers around her started to panic also. And in fact, as she was doing this, as she was jumping and screaming, the cockroach moved to another table. And yet another woman joined the scream and jump and run for your life, dear, run for your dear life club, And while all this was happening, there was a waiter, right? And with a smile, he was observing the cockroach, and the cockroach started to settle down, and he started observing the insect a little bit. Within a few seconds, he grabbed the bug, quickly took it away, much to the delight of the two women and many other very jittery diners, right? In fact, people started to clap their hands in response to the waiter. And I was sitting with my colleague, and the two of us were finishing dinner, and we started discussing this amusing situation. A number of quick questions were raised, and among them, we talked about this. Was the cockroach liable for the melodramatic performance of the two women? And if so, why was the waiter not hysterical, distressed, and relatively calm, right? And so we discussed this, and a huge realization dawned upon us. In many cases, it is not external factors that disrupt us or cause chaos in our world, but rather our inability to handle such situations. And so, this begs the question. In many scenarios, we end up reacting to a situation rather than responding to it. Just think back of a time when your boss yelled at you or your spouse told you off. Do you react in kind of a hysterical manner, or do you respond as you need to fuse that flame? I remember, sometimes we react to the tiniest of issues. Now imagine you're late for a meeting and you're driving in a rush to get to the meeting on time, but the traffic light turns red. Now, does the red light cause you to get so angry and frustrated that you start reacting crazily? Or is it because the light disrupts you? It is not the traffic lights that disrupts you, but rather your inability to handle the disturbances caused in your mind. So why do we react to the light? Now, setbacks and situations that are unfamiliar and disruptive happen all the time. It is not the situation or unwanted event that we need to react to, but rather the way we choose to respond will determine how we make the best of the situation. Many people are stuck in bad and horrible situations. That is the hand that we have been dealt with. Yet, those who choose not to be ruled by the circumstances and instead accept the situation and now try to respond and deal with it tend to be more successful in whatever they do. It's a choice, right? Everything we do, we have a choice. Every day we make thousands of choices, from what we eat to what we wear to what we say to a whole bunch of other choices. So what's the difference between reacting and responding? Two choices, different choices, a positive choice and a negative choice. Choosing to respond positively can dramatically alter your life. Now, for example, if you have dinner and your son knocks down and breaks a very precious vase on your table, you have two choices. You can react or you can respond. So let's talk about choice number one, reacting. Now, if we allow our emotions to guide us and thoughts of anger, pain, and loss flash through our minds, we quickly react with yelling, anger, physical abuse, and other negative reaction. We end up causing our son to feel hostile, tense, uncomfortable, and in the process, we potentially damage the relationship. It is normal to feel this emotion, but taking some time to respond instead of reacting could prevent it. Another quick story. A couple of years ago, I was told of a story of a father who saw his son scratch his newly polished car. In a fit of anger, he took a steel beam and whacked his son's hand, causing his son to lose all fingers. Later, he read what his son had written on the car, and it was, "Daddy, I love you." Yet, his reaction to the situation had caused his son to lose his fingers. I was pretty saddened by the story, and I had wished the father really had learned to respond instead of reacting. Now let's talk about choice number 2. Choice number 2 is to respond. Now this is a more positive approach, and it begins by putting some distance between you and the situation. A person who responds to a situation will never let emotions get the better of him or her. In the case of the son breaking the vase, the first thing would be to see if everyone's okay and if anyone's hurt. Quickly respond to anyone that's hurt. Then calmly ensure that no one walks on any of the tiny fragments, assuming it's glass, of the vase, right? Quickly mobilize people to ensure that the fragments are cleaned up. Now, once you are calm and collected, you can discipline or discuss the situation with your son. So how do you move from being reactive to responsive? The same way you develop any other skill. Practice, 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 right? So I think the starting point is to tell yourself that you want to become a more responsive person and never react. Let me give you 4 tips. No, wait, let me give you 5 tips to help you to do this better. So let's start with tip number 1. Imagine circumstances. Imagine circumstances where you would be prone to react and reenact this situation with a responsive manner. There's a book, I Am Malala. It's a story of a young girl, and you see her there, who was shot in the face by the Taliban for speaking out for the education of girls. Now, many times there were death threats, and she felt like reacting to them. At the age of 14, Malala began to rehearse how she would respond when confronted with one of these terrorists. She would say, "I'd imagine that on my way home, a terrorist might jump out and shoot me on those steps. I wondered what I would do. Maybe I'd take off my shoe and hit him. But then I think if I did that, there would be no difference between me and that terrorist. It would be better, right, to plead, okay, shoot me, but first listen to me. What you're doing is wrong. I'm not against you personally. I just want every girl to go to school, including your daughter. Now, do with me whatever you want." Now, by rehearsing the situation, Malala was able to respond instead of react. So imagine situations and rehearse how you would respond. Number 2, breathe. Learn to breathe. When you're in a situation when you need to react or respond, first, breathe. By focusing on our breathing instead of reacting instantly, we bring our thinking under control. We may eliminate thoughts that gear us up, releasing them with each breath and regaining our concentration. Number 3, write out the words respond versus react. Write them out on sticky notes and put them on places where you constantly see them. These reminders are crucial for us to remind us of our commitment to respond, not react. Now, number 4 is about reflection. Reflect at the end of each day on the different situations that you've gone through. Did I react, or was it a reaction? Sorry, was it a reaction or was it a response, right? Look back at each of your situation and give yourself a score from 1 to 5. This reflection will help you to learn from your reaction mistakes and teach you to be better at responding. Now the bonus one, number 5, right? So finally, always create a gap between yourself and the stimulus, either time or distance. Then ask yourself one of the following questions. Is what just happened, the situation, the crisis, or whatever issue, a big deal that will ruin your life? If you look at the situation, stuck in traffic, your son broke a jar or vase, the boss scolds you, whatever the situation, it will probably not be something that will be a big issue in the scheme of your whole life. The second one, was the situation just an accident or intentional? People generally never set out to cause unnecessary grief or hurt to you. If it was just an accident, getting angry won't enable you to get back that vase or whatever it is that was broken. Sure, your son should have known better, but getting angry won't solve any problem. So, and then the third question to ask is this worth ruining relationships or friendship? Some of us get personally attached to things, but relationships are far more important to salvage. A little unnecessary reaction instead of a response can cause friendships, relationships to go sour. So, my call to you is, as you ask yourself this question, put yourself in somebody else's shoe. Ask yourself how you would like to be treated if you had committed these accidents instead of the other party. Be compassionate and listen before you respond. Many of us know that we should not respond, but we should stop ourselves. It's just human nature. So we must practice responding. Remember, reactions are instinctive, responses are intellectual. And if you do end up responding or reacting, which some of us do quite often, then quickly apologize. It may be shocking to some of us, but we are all not perfect. No one is, I'm not, right? And we are always prone to the dumb reaction instead of the wise responding. So learn to apologize and choose not to react. But if it happens, apologies work, right? You can apologize, and they are great medicine in this situation. So I wish you all the best. You have been watching Life Hacks with Roshan. All the best in your goal of responding instead of reacting.